You know, I have no animosity towards a kid who is genuinely trying to pursue the best opportunities in his life, and I genuinely do hope it works out for him. But I do have to say, this is the dark side of the transfer portal that I really can't stand, and I'll tell you why later in today's video. But first, let's break the news in case you have not heard that Oklahoma quarterback Dillon Gabriel will be transferring to Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks. He will obviously replace Bo Nix, who is out of eligibility after this season. And I think Oregon is getting a very good pickup here and seem to be in pretty good shape following this news. And before I break down my full thoughts on it, let's give you the player profile here. And I'm sure most people are familiar that Dillon Gabriel is a very good quarterback, but if you are totally unfamiliar, here is the stat line. He ranked 6th among all FBS quarterbacks this season in passing yards with 3,660 yards. He was number 8 in passing touchdowns, number 10 in completion percentage. And I think if you just saw him play at Oklahoma or even UCF before that, because that's another thing people seem to forget here, this will be the 3rd school he is transferring to because he started out at UCF, but everyone knows, I think we all understand, Dillon Gabriel is a very good quarterback. With that said, let me get into how I think this will play out at Oregon, and again, why I despise this aspect of the transfer portal, okay? So let me first and foremost say that, again, I do hope it works out for him. And I don't think either way it'll be catastrophic. He's not going to just not have an NFL career because of this. But I will point this out, and I've said this every time a player transfers, which is there seems to be this mentality in the era of the transfer portal that the grass must always be greener on the other side. And you look at some teams and say, oh, well, all they're missing is a really good quarterback. So if you send in a quarterback from another school who's doing very well, it's plug and play. They're all going to explode and do amazing. And I think what you actually saw this season is that's not always true. I think about Devin Leary, who is a star quarterback at NC State. He transferred to Kentucky, and well, it was absolutely atrocious this year. Like, he was just a non-factor. It was a total bust and disappointment. And you have to look at that and say, was it really better for his career to, you know, he was doing well at a school? Because that's my thing with the transfer portal. I fully understand maybe you transfer somewhere and the coach leaves, or you weren't getting playing time, and so it's an option for players to get out. But I'm always skeptical. And again, I reiterate, the grass is not always greener on the other side, that just transferring to a whole new school, a whole new offense, a whole new offensive coordinator and all that stuff, it will just automatically plug and play click. And I think what you very often see is that's not the case. I also think about Sam Hartman this year at Notre Dame, right? If you think to last year, what was the narrative around Notre Dame? It's like they don't have a quarterback. Drew Pine, Tyler Buckner, all these guys suck. And if Notre Dame just had a good quarterback, they would blow up and be an amazingly 10 times better team. So Sam Hartman, who is the quarterback at Wake Forest, doing very well, transfers over to Notre Dame and didn't have a horrendously bad season, but really did not nearly live up to something that everyone was expecting. Right, I think most people would admit Notre Dame themselves were not a terrible team this year, but in many ways, Sam Hartman himself as the star transfer quarterback was a little bit of a disappointment. And again, this is my big thing in this. You know, maybe I'll be totally wrong about this and he'll be even better than he was at Oklahoma. But this is my big concern with seeing a guy who was doing perfectly well at Oklahoma. And there was nothing bad to say about him. Everything was going well. He wasn't being wasted or misused by the offensive scheme in any way, shape, or fashion. And just randomly decides, nope, I want to get out. I feel like going somewhere else and going to a whole new offense. Okay, now, one thing I do have to point out, and this is maybe understandable, is that part of the reason Oklahoma's offense was so good this year was, of course, because of their offensive coordinator, Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby, one of the prime coaching targets in this sport. Brent Venables, took him over from Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin when he came in as the head coach, and Jeff Lebby now going, obviously, over to Mississippi State. So I do understand that, hey, the scheme is in question. You're going to have a changing offensive coordinator. Maybe that's the reason you want to get out. But again, I am always skeptical of this. And I hope it works out for Dillon Gabriel, but I don't think generally, and I think you saw this year with some of those transfer quarterbacks, it's not always a good idea to just bail on your school where you're doing well and go to another school because, I don't know, you want to change in scenery or something like that. You know, I think we've seen many times where that doesn't work out. And I think when you watched Oregon's offense this year versus Oklahoma's offense, there's really not a lot bad to say about Oregon's offense, but it's not necessarily always as maybe spread focused, right, as Oklahoma was under Jeff Lebby. So I do have that concern. It's like, are we going to see a Notre Dame situation where he transfers in and he's just a huge disappointment? And a lot of people say, well, maybe he should have stayed at Oklahoma. I don't know. Again, though, that's what I hate about this transfer portal is players doing stuff like this. Okay. If you're, say, Graham Mertz at Wisconsin, and you were genuinely being wasted at that coaching staff, and it was just a bad situation. Maybe you were going stale. You transfer to Florida, and obviously you're seeing it worked out for him. I think about Jaden Daniels, right? ASU star freshman season, and then, you know, coaching turmoil, just a bad situation. He gets out of a bad situation. I'm fully on board with that. Going from a good situation and assuming the next situation would be better, again, I think that's playing a little bit with fire here, and that's unfortunate situation. Kind of feel bad for Oklahoma fans because it's just kind of baffling to me, you know, and like I said, I don't think it's always a good idea to leave somewhere where you're doing well, which again, by the way, it's not like Oklahoma is a small time school. I could understand, hey, you're the star quarterback of Coastal Carolina and you want to go to a Power 5 program. You're talking about a Big 12 school now about to be an SEC school, leaving that for a Pac-12 school about to be a Big 10 school. I don't see how it's all that different. I don't know. Maybe money is a factor, maybe NIL, but Oklahoma is probably still competitive in that regard. I don't know. Regardless, I do genuinely hope it works out for him. But the other bad side of this story is Ty Thompson. Okay? Because, you know, you hear a lot of the narrative these days in the sport that similar, I guess, to what I'm saying, but people do say things like, oh, these players are transferring too much. They're not showing any resilience. What happened to sitting around and waiting your turn like most people do? Well, Ty Thompson, you know, quarterback at Oregon, he's been there since the Cristobal days. You know, he sits behind Bo Nix all these years, assuming that when Bo Nix leaves, he's going to get his turn. And then as soon as next year he's ready to get his turn, what happens? Oh, we're going to take another transfer portal quarterback. It's like, it's a bad situation, you know? And so there's so many layers to which I kind of morally don't like the situation. But, you know, with that said, I think Oregon will be getting a good and capable quarterback, and so good for them on that regard. I genuinely hope that they don't waste him because, again, we've seen that story before. It will be Dillon Gabriel's final year of eligibility. Like I said, I understand the decision. Don't come to me saying I'm saying it doesn't make any sense. I get where he's coming from with this. At the same time, though, I don't think, again, it's a risk worth taking if you're him. If you're doing well at a school with plenty of eyes on it, and Oklahoma's in a really good situation, I think, as a program right now, going into year 3, it looked like, you know, next year was kind of primed to be a really good year for them. And you just leave to a whole new coaching staff and offense, and for no reason, right? It's not like you're not getting along with the coaches. It's not like you're playing bad, or I don't know. But that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on this situation down below. Do you think Dillon Gabriel will work out at Oregon? Are my concerns just ridiculous? Let me know. But until next time, see you later. God bless. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and peace.